Some exciting news from Will Smith. It's been a couple really tough years from for Will Smith ever since the infamous, Oscar debacle. You know, we all know what he did. But obviously, since then, he's struggled. He had a movie that came out that year, slavery movie. I can't remember what it was. Didn't really do well at all. Wasn't well received because obviously there was a backlash. But again, this is Will Smith. His Bad Boy movie that came out a year and a half ago, actually, did extremely well. And I think people are warming back up to Will Smith. This is he was once called Mr. July, because he had hit after hit after hit after hit in July. I mean, we're talking about worldwide blockbusters, from Independence Day to Men in Black. You know what I mean? He was that big, one of the biggest actors on the planet. Obviously, he had this humbling time that he went through. And again, this was all brought on by himself. This was his ego, his, some would say, lack of self-awareness. But yeah, so he has steadily tried to come back. He's released a few movies, but again, because of how big of a superstar he is, it was when he fell, even though it kind of feels like nowadays people are just waiting for people of his stature to just fall. That's unfortunately the sad state that we live in. You always hear people get excited to see you succeed, but a whole lot more get excited watching you fail. It's just the reality. Negative is normal nowadays, right? But, I'm one of those people that I've always loved his content. I didn't like what he did. I didn't condone what he did. But I think he's paid for it in more ways than one. But the news coming from him is the fact that he's actually going to be doing sequels to a couple movies that we all love. The first one is I Am Legend. I Am Legend, when that movie came out, I remember it's obviously since then it's become this cult classic where there's been fans just asking, begging, hoping for a sequel because that movie was so good. But the crazy thing was, in that movie, he died. So it's one of those where we kind of knew that he died. Because sometimes, either the director doesn't necessarily know how this movie is going to be received, so he doesn't plan for the future. I talked about this with the Joker sequel. The Joker first movie was so good, a $50 million budget movie does over $1 billion. They never expected that, from all the awards and everything that they got. Then they decided to make a sequel and it was just trash. They never planned for a sequel. Same thing with I Am Legend. Will Smith died at the end. So there was never really a plan for a sequel, or so we thought, until we realized they had a different ending. See, if you watch, you can actually find that ending on YouTube. I'll put a link over here, where there was a different ending to I Am Legend where Will Smith lived. So I don't know why he decided to go with the ending where he died, but I bet you he regrets it to this day, because if they had actually gone with the version where Will Smith lives, there would have been a sequel. There would have been a sequel, probably. This would have been one of those trilogies, right? So anyway, so he just announced that they're currently working on I Am Legend 2, and they're actually he's looking to work with Michael B. Jordan. So in different roles, either acting and directing or just acting. So it kind of feels like it's going to be a different iteration of I Am Legend. But I'm excited. As a fan, I think it's way past overdue, right, to get this sequel. And I'm excited just to see and obviously, because of how good this movie was, I'm interested to see where they pick it off at. If will he not be in I Am Legend 2 and Michael B. Jordan will be the main character, or will Michael B. Jordan be incorporated into this movie? Will Smith is this? I don't know what they're gonna do because Will Smith died. So is this going to be one of those what ifs? I Am Legend 2? I don't know. But it's just exciting to hear that they're actually working on this movie. And in the same, because he actually did this on a podcast, in the same podcast, he also said that they're working on a sequel for Hancock. Now, this one, which is also one of those that became a really cool classic, it's one off, right? When he did Hancock, I remember going, number one, I'm a comic book fan. I'd never heard of Hancock, which says a lot. I'd never really heard of Hancock. But I remember watching that movie, him with Charlize Theron in that movie, and them having this really cool dynamic. And it was really fun. It was really fun. I mean, with I Am Legend, it's funny because in I Am Legend, this apocalyptic world where this virus took over the world, creating these zombies, right? We've had so many zombie movies, but in I Am Legend, it was interesting. And then Will Smith's character, he's alone, and fighting off these zombies, and some of them are somewhat smarter than they think, or at least have some version of mental capacity. So he's like a loner. And then we go to Hancock, where he's a superhero and he's also a loner, and then he starts basically building this relationship with this other guy who ends up helping him not only embrace humanity, because he had never really embraced humanity up until that point. He was just this loner who would save people, but not save them the right way, because he would destroy property, millions of dollars worth of property, whether it's roads or buildings or whatever. So he had to learn how to be a superhero, including going to jail. But anyway, so he was this really cool character, and I love the story they told. It wasn't your traditional superhero story. This was him and Charlize Theron, who we find out is like him, actually way more powerful than him. They were sent here from a different world to learn to be human. And the more they're together as a couple, the more they become human. So they lose their powers, they lose all their abilities, become human, live as humans, and eventually die. But so they've been here for thousands of years, right? And in Hancock, we end up realizing that, again, when they're together, they lose their powers. So in one instance, they're together and they get attacked. And Hancock, or Will Smith's character, gets injured very badly, loses his memory. And then Charlize Theron finds this opportunity to basically distance herself from him. And this is where the movie comes, where he has no idea he's alone. He has no idea where he came from. He also has no idea there was somebody else on this planet like him. It's a really cool way that they told the story, and how he ended up connecting with his family, how he ended up almost finding his humanity, but also how he also ended up being and embracing his superhero abilities and actually being a superhero. And throughout the whole movie, you see all the trials and tribulations that he goes through physically, where he gets really, really hurt. So it's a really fun movie that a lot of people went in not knowing. I think a lot of people, kind of like me, never heard of Hancock, but then Will Smith's star power made you go watch this movie, and then you come out of this movie and go, wow, that was a really cool movie. I bet there's going to be a sequel. Well, there's never been a sequel. And this is one of those movies that all of us have been campaigning for, to get a sequel. So it's good to hear that they're working on a sequel, and he actually mentioned the fact that they actually will reach out to Zendaya. She might have a role. So what that tells you is they're actively, because you don't just drop names to drop names. So they're actively working on the sequel. So to me, it's really good news. As a fan, if you're a fan of either I Am Legend or Hancock, you know that we've been waiting for sequels for both of these movies, and it's about damn time. And I just hope that in this day and age, there's certain things that matter. The story matters, the writing matters, the director, and the casting matters. So hopefully they get all these conditions right, because don't make a sequel just to make a sequel. I mean, it's been so long. You know, I love James Cameron when he decides, because he takes like 10 years to make a sequel, but it's well worth the wait, right? If you watched Avatar and then you watch the sequel, you're like, I understand why this man just makes so many good movies. So if you're going to make us wait all this time, they better be damn good. So I'm just excited. But anyway, that's just the news coming from Will Smith. Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of these movies? Are you excited to see what they're going to do with the sequels? And especially if you're a Hancock fan. Are you an actual Hancock fan? Have you read the comics? Because to this day, I've never read the comics. I will admit that, which is kind of sad. But I might just want to, because I saw the movie, loved the movie. I kind of waited for a sequel, and then it just, you know. So not sad to say that I didn't necessarily pursue really knowing the character. So I might, from now. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.